Hello everybody, welcome to your second sample question, dealing with dependent children. So remember that in these sample questions, just like the exam simulations that we offer, we're testing you on different areas of the specific topic we're talking about as it relates to the full skills exam. Now in this one here, we're talking about updates to the family. So if somebody applies and they have a baby, what happens? If somebody applies and someone passes away, what happens? Now, this question is going to test your knowledge on exactly that. Okay, so this theme of updates is going to be shown through this question. And the question is, Marcus is a Canadian citizen who is from Cuba and has been living in Toronto for the past 4 years. He recently married his longtime girlfriend Juanita and used the services of Vincent, an RCIC, to aid in sponsoring her to immigrate to Canada under the family class. Vincent completed all of the work efficiently and made sure to include all of Juanita's family in the application as well, since she mentioned that she would like to sponsor her parents to join them in Canada one day. 2 months after submitting the application to the immigration office, Juanita found out that she is pregnant, and 8 months later, their son, Carlos, was born. They inform Vincent of this, and Vincent tells them that their outland sponsorship will likely take a few more months. So they will have to sponsor the baby after Juanita obtains PR status. Did RCIC Vincent provide accurate immigration advice? Now you can see that all the answers are the same. They say no, but they all have different reasons why. So A says no, they need to inform the immigration office of the birth before permanent resident visas are issued. We have B, no, they will need to sponsor Carlos once Juanita is in Canada. We have C, no, Juanita is married to Marcus, so both her and Carlos are automatically Canadian citizens and do not need to go through the sponsorship process. We have D, no, they do not need to declare Carlos because he was born after the lock-in date of submission. Alright, so you can press pause and take a look at the answer. If you need to refer to your test day data booklet, that would be a good idea. Or if you need to refer to the previous lesson on this topic, that would be a great idea as well. Remember that this one is testing your knowledge on changes that happen during the immigration process and what you need to advise as an RCIC. All right, let's take a look at C first. So we have C says no, Juanita is married to Marcus, so both her and Carlos are automatically Canadian citizens. Now, you probably took a look at this and you found so many things wrong with it. There isn't anybody who's automatically a Canadian citizen. People have to apply, of course. Now, this lesson isn't on citizenship, but just to show you how all the topics are interlinked, and just to give you a very general idea of citizenship, remember that even if a person meets the requirements of citizenship, they still have to apply for citizenship. And especially for a spouse and in most cases a dependent child, they would have to maybe obtain permanent residency first and then transition. Though for children it's a little bit different, but we'll cover that when we talk about citizenship. Okay, so we're left with 3 options now. So let's take a look at another one here. Okay, let's take a look at B over here. Now, B is also incorrect, but we have to take a look at why. That's where the learning process really happens. So by understanding family update requirements, this will lead us down the right path. Now remember, the applicant has to file any changes in the family in the application, so they would need to update it even if the application has been submitted. Remember that they have to update the office before obtaining permanent residence. And remember that big concept that can play a role in family class, and that is that essentially people who were not declared, they can't be sponsored later on. Okay, so you'll see this concept might play a role in a lot of areas of family class, and it's pretty straightforward really. So just remember, if somebody is not declared, they can't be sponsored later on. Okay, so with this one we know that B is also incorrect. So let's take a look at D and A now. All right, so if you put D, well, D is absolutely 1,000,000% incorrect. All right, so with people who are born, and anytime there is a change really for the application, and we're talking about family class here, we're talking about dependent children, but this can be for anything really. When there is a change, of course, you have to inform the IRCC. This is a very, very, very tricky situation when somebody doesn't mention someone on their application, and then later on they try to sponsor this person. So after the sponsor obtains PR, well, it's very unfortunate, but the person cannot be sponsored later. So if the person was not, of course, on the original application, and the application went through and the person obtained PR, and then later on wants to sponsor a child who was alive but not mentioned in the application the first time around, well, that is a very unfortunate situation because that person cannot be sponsored later. So remember, there is the lock-in age. This answer option is there to confuse you and try to trick you by confusing you about what the lock-in age is. So the lock-in age is really about age at this time. And the only exception really, I think part of the reason it exists really is simply because if the IRCC receives an application and then the dependent child turns 22 and is of course theoretically not a dependent child anymore, just because of that age, well, there is an exception for this. Okay, as long as that person is still not married or in a common law relationship. Okay, so we saw through our analysis of B, C, and D that A is correct, but let's just reiterate on that a little bit just to make sure that we understand the points made. Okay, so we saw that they would definitely need to update the office. It's absolutely 1,000,000% mandatory, because essentially if they don't, they won't be able to sponsor their child later on. Now, if you got A as the correct answer right from the start, you did really well. Congratulations. This is one concept really that is pretty straightforward, but a lot of people don't really think about it. I know a lot of time when you're studying for your full skills exam, you're looking at all the little tiny details and some people forget to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and look at the bigger details that go across all of family class in this case. So understanding that everybody has to be declared, everything needs to be updated, will lead you towards the correct answer in this question. Okay, great job again. Your first question tested you on one area of what we talked about in the lesson, and this one tested you on another area. The third question you're going to do right after this is going to be a little bit more difficult because it's essentially testing you on 3 big areas. So if you did well in the first question and this question, congratulations. You have one more question to work through, and I wish you good luck in your studies, and thanks again for tuning in.